Hi guys, welcome back to Axis and Allies, the Garrison. This is Detroit once again coming back to you from the bunker here in Rochelle Park, New Jersey. It is the day after Thanksgiving, okay? We ourselves, my family and I, we actually spent the evening at my cousin's house where we spent a very good evening with family, okay? So we had a great time, okay? Unfortunately, we did have to cut it off a little bit early because I did have to work late last night and had to report for duty. Okay, so having said that, I wish that you guys also had a great time with your own families, cherishing the family time that I believe is always well spent. Okay, all right. So where are we? Okay, so now it is the end of round 5. Which means now that we're going to be starting round 6 in the YouTube wars. Okay, it is, let me see, 5 complete rounds. I would say if you think of every round in the game as the equivalent of 6 months. Okay, we are now, I believe, at the halfway point of 1942. The game starts 1940. 2 rounds is the equivalent of 1 year. So if we've played 5 complete rounds, that's 2.5 years, which would mean then that we are halfway through 1942, okay, and we're rapidly approaching 1943. So by the time we wrap up round 6, we will have completed 1942 and we'll be into 1943 by the time we start round 7. Okay, so that's one way of thinking in terms of numbers and actual times. All right, so in any case, we're wrapping up round 5. Dutch Lancaster will make his moves with the Anzacs, and will go ahead and also make his moves with what's left of the French armies. Okay. Also, then we'll segue into round 6, and it'll be Germany's turn under the command of Sire Blood. Okay. Now, as you guys well know, the game in Europe has taken a very interesting turn. London has fallen. The UK capital has been invaded. Okay, and as a consequence, the UK really is at this point in time a non-factor in the European theater of the war. Okay, so what has happened on the Eastern Front? Well, the Russians have been able to push the Germans back a little bit. Okay, let's see though how the Germans counter the Russian counteroffensive. Okay, so that's something that I'm looking forward to seeing, and let's see how Field Marshal Sire Blood goes ahead and responds to the Russian counteroffensive. Okay, so we shall find out, and I look forward to seeing what Sire will be doing. Okay, all right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think as always, and once again, wishing you folks a happy Thanksgiving, belated but happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy, guys. All right, guys, this is Dutch Lancaster's turn. This is the current situation on in the Pacific as far as ground and navally speaking. As you can see, the Japanese are definitely a little thin, okay, and the British in Southeast Asia are starting to move forward, and so are the Chinese, who are still holding out against the Japanese. Okay, fortunately for the Japanese are lacking some infantry ground units that are so badly needed by them. Also to the north, you have a Russian army in central Mongolia facing off against the Japanese. Okay, and of course, let's not forget the American naval fleet in Sea Zone 6 that has taken a beating from the last battle. All 5 capital ships, including the battleship and 4 carriers, are damaged. Okay, so now they're prone, open for an attack. Okay, and of course the Japanese, and you have a Japanese task force in Sea Zone 20. Okay, and you have also a contingent of American bombers in the Philippines and 5 U.S. fighters in Guam, and that's pretty much the gist of it. Okay, in the Pacific. All right, so it's obviously Dutch Lancaster's move. He purchased 1 destroyer, 1 fighter, an artillery division, and 1 infantry division for this turn. Okay, so let's go ahead with his combat movements and what Dutch will be doing with his Australians. Anzacs will be to take 1 infantry and 1 artillery divisions and move them and attack the Japanese in Shan State. That's a movement of 1 with the transport, movement of 2, C-Zone 42, and movement of 3 in C-Zone 37, which means that they'll be landing in Shan State. They'll be liberating this territory from the Japanese. Okay, so this territory goes back to the British in Calcutta. All right, so that's the single combat movement that the Anzacs will be making for this turn. All right, so let's go straight into non-combat movements. And for the non-combats, the Anzacs have 1 cruiser off the coast of Hawaii in C-Zone 26. And that cruiser will be moving into C-Zone 6 at a movement of 3 because there's a naval base in Honolulu. So that cruiser can move 3 now. Movement of 1, 25, movement of 2, 16, and movement of 3 in C-Zone 6. So that cruiser is badly needed by the Americans to help defend it because we suspect that the Japanese will be attacking that fleet in C-Zone 6. That fleet is hurting very badly, and it's a prime target for the Japanese at this point in time. All right, so that's it for the non-combat movements for the Anzacs as well. Okay, so let's go ahead then with the placement of units, and let's go ahead and place the destroyer, C-Zone 54. The fighter is going to go into Queensland, and the artillery piece is going to go in Queensland as well. That's 3 pieces placed, and the single remaining infantry will go in New South Wales. All right, so that means then that the Anzacs will be collecting 29 IPCs because they have both of their national objectives. They have also taken over Java, okay? No, not Sumatra, Java, the Celebes, and Shan State. So that's a total of 29 IPCs that the Anzacs will be collecting for the next round. All right, let's go over to the French. Okay, the French are going to go straight into the non-combat movements. The French will be moving the 1 single infantry, okay, into Alexandria. All right, and the 1 single infantry division from Egypt into Alexandria. Okay, the French also have 1 infantry in Persia. They're going to take advantage of the fact that there's an industrial complex there, so that infantry can move at 3 now. It's going to get railed into 1, 2, and 3. It'll be moving into Rostov. Right? So that's at a movement of 3. All right, so officially, guys, this is the end of round 5. Now we are going to go into round 6. So let's make it official and let's move the round marker to round 6. So it is round 6 now, and it is Germany's turn. Very interesting situation here in Germany, in Europe actually. As you can see, there are actually more Italians on the Eastern Front than you actually have Germans on the Eastern Front. Okay, now the advantage that the Germans have is that for their technology, they have super bombers, which means that their bombers can attack at a roll of 2. Each bomber has the power of 2 bombers. Okay, and the Germans have a very powerful air force and a considerable fleet as well. Okay, so let's see how Syed goes about engaging the Russian armies, okay, that are currently performing counteroffensives on the Eastern Front. Fortunately for the Germans, their Italian allies are chipping in and are helping as far as the war effort is concerned and are making contributions against the Russians. All right, guys, we'll be back with the actual combat movements and purchases that the Germans made. Stand by, please. All right, guys, so here we are back. Let's see what the purchases that were made by Silent Blood were. Okay, quite a substantial purchase that Sired made. I believe he had 102 IPCs for this past round. So he actually is putting all those IPCs to very good use. So what did he purchase? Okay, remember, folks, that that Sired also got a lot of the income, many IPCs from the Treasury after the UK fell. So that brought up his income to 102 IPCs. All right, so he ended up purchasing 2 submarines, 2 strategic bombers, 3 armored units, 10 infantry, and 1 airbase, and 2 points of damage for, I'm assuming, the damaged industrial complex in London. Okay, so I'm assuming that's where those 2 damage points are going to go. So that's it for his entire purchase. And let's go ahead now with the combat movements that he made. All right, so you'll be attacking here in Ukraine with 1 single artillery that is coming from Bessarabia, moving into the Ukraine. Then he's moving 1 mechanized infantry coming in from eastern Poland, okay, at a movement of 2 into Bryansk, okay. Also, from eastern Poland, 1 artillery piece is attacking Belarus. It's attacking 2 Russian artillery, 1 infantry, and 1 mechanized infantry divisions, along with 1 artillery and 2 bombers that are coming from Western Germany. Okay, at a count of 4, these bombers have 3 movements left in their gas gauges. Okay, so that's 2 bombers, 1 artillery attacking the Russian army here in Belarus. All right, so in addition, you have 1 single bomber, okay, coming from all the way from Western Germany as well at a movement of 5. Let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That bomber has 2 left in its gas gauge, 2 movements left, and it's attacking 2 single Russian artillery divisions defending Archangel. All right, and that's it. Total of 4 battles for the Germans. As you guys can tell, the German counteroffensive here is actually a little thin, but that's because the Germans have very little resources at this moment. Okay, let's see, what happens during the next round when the Germans will have considerably more ground units to use or utilize against the Russians. All right, we'll be back shortly, guys, with the results of combat. Stand by. All right, so we're back with the results of combat here. Okay, so let's first start with the battle in Archangel. Wow, very interesting roles, very favorable for Germany, since Germany, the Luftwaffe, the strategic air raids strategic bombers can attack with the strength of 2 bombers. The 2 defending artillery in Archangel, the Russians, were wiped out. Both defending units did not strike or score any hits. This bomber survived the attack, and it'll be landing in Leningrad. Okay. Similar story in Belarus. Both bombers and the single German artillery division and 2 bomber squadrons that attacked wiped out all 4 defending Russian units. Okay, I believe it was 2 artillery, 1 regular infantry, and 1 mechanized infantry. They were all destroyed. They were able, though, to take out the single attacking German artillery division, which was a loss for the Germans. Okay, so even though the Germans did not successfully invade Belarus, they were able to knock out the Russian units in that territory. These Russian bombers will then go ahead and land in Romania. Okay, so here we are. Okay, now in the south, you had the artillery unit division successfully moving unopposed in the Ukraine. Okay, so these territories now become German. Actually, no, just the Ukraine is the only territory that becomes German. Oh, and by the way, also Bryansk becomes German. All right. Okay, we'll be back shortly with the non-combat movements and placement of units. All right, we're back. Let's go on then with the non-combat movements, which were very interesting. Let's start with the Eastern Front first, though. Okay, so this infantry division came over from Romania. This unit actually was railed at a movement of 3 from Romania, 1, 2, and 3, and was moved into Novgorod. Okay, the single AAA in Eastern Poland was moved into Western Ukraine. Okay, the single AAA in Bessarabia will remain in Bessarabia. Okay, and I believe that's about it for the movements on the Eastern Front for the Germans. Now, the interesting stuff is actually taking place on the Eastern Seaboard, where Sire moved the German fleet and the ground units in the UK. All right, so let's see what he did. He actually moved his entire fleet, or most of it anyway, into Sea Zone 92. Okay, so his fleet was initially in Sea Zone 110, and he, at a movement of 3, 1, 2, and 3, moved his fleet into Sea Zone 92. Okay, so he moved his battleship, cruiser, and 4 naval transports over into Sea Zone 92. He also brought over the ground units that were in the United Kingdom, and he placed, I believe it was 3 artillery, 1 infantry division in Morocco, and 1 armored division and 1 infantry division in Gibraltar. Okay, he also brought his air force. Okay, a total of 6 aircraft that were in Western Germany, I believe. Okay, and I'm forgetting where they came from. Okay, I believe they were either somewhere in Western Germany or France or Holland. My memory is failing me right now. But they came from Eastern Europe, Western Europe actually, and he landed, if I'm not mistaken again, 2 tactical fighters, 2 tactical bombers, and 1 fighter in Gibraltar. And the same thing, 2 tactical bombers and 1 regular fighter in Morocco. Okay. He also brought over 1 destroyer from Sea Zone 110 and placed it in Sea Zone 91. Okay, the remaining destroyer was left in Sea Zone 110. All right, and that would be it for his non-combat movements. Now, this is actually a very good tactic or strategy of bringing over his ground units and his air force into the Mediterranean, because not only does he now threaten the Mediterranean, okay, with his German assets, but he's also checking a potential U.S. naval landing coming from Sea Zone 101. Okay, so Sire, I know that you mentioned that I had failed to recap the units that I had in Sea Zone 101. Well, here it is. What I actually have here is 4 naval transports, 1 submarine, 3 destroyers, 1 cruiser, 1 battleship, and 1 aircraft carrier with 2 British fighters on that carrier. Okay, so on the eastern seaboard of the United States, you have 5 infantry divisions, 1 artillery, and 2 mechanized infantry divisions in the eastern United States. Okay, so that's to recap there for you, since I did forget to recap or mention what I had on the eastern United States and Season 101. Okay, we'll be back shortly with the final placement of units and total income earned by the Germans. All right, fellas, we're back and we're gonna go with the final placement of units. Let's see where Sire placed his newly purchased combat units for the German army. Okay, so now in Leningrad, he placed 3 newly built, Tiger tanks, that are now accompanying the single German infantry division with the strategic bomber in Leningrad. So that's 3 armored divisions have been placed in Leningrad, which are now threatening Archangel and Belarus. Well, yeah, Belarus as well. Okay, so now let's look at what his placements of units were in Romania. In Romania, he placed 4 infantry divisions and 2 newly purchased strategic bombers, as well as 1 airbase. Very, very interesting placement for that airbase. Okay, this definitely gives the German army and air force further range deep into the Soviet Union. Okay, so that air base is a force multiplier for the Germans. Very, very interesting purchase and very interesting placement of that air base in Romania. All right, so definitely that major industrial complex in Romania, of course, is critical for the German war effort and definitely places the Russians on a defensive mode, I would say, okay, because now the Germans are going to be able to pump out massive numbers of hardware and ground units and air units coming from that industrial complex. All right, so what happened in the other regions of the European theater of war? Well, the Germans also placed 2 newly constructed submarines in Season 110, which will accompany or escort the German destroyer in Season 110. The Germans also recruited 3 new infantry divisions, which are now guarding the city of London. Okay, so that's in case of a potential U.S. naval operation or amphibious landing. So those are the garrison units that are protecting or guarding the UK. All right, what else? What am I forgetting? No, I think that's about it. All right, so definitely the situation is looking very grim for the Allies on the European theater of war. However, having said that, the Axis are still falling short. They still only have 9 of 12 victory points that they have to accumulate by the end of round 8. So even though as grim as things are for the Allies in Eastern Europe, the Allies still have a fair chance of winning this war. Keep in mind that the situation is grim for the Axis in Asia, where things are a little bit difficult. But let's see what happens when the Japanese go, because the Japanese do have options. The Japanese have had a tough go, but they do have options, and I believe that G.I. Joe is waiting for some payback, and he definitely can hurt the Allies during his round of play, during his turn of play. Let's see what happens. All right, guys. Once again, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and we'll continue covering this game for you folks. Very interesting game. The Axis are not making it easy. The Allies, I do have to admit, are up against the ropes. It's not an easy game for us, but having said that, we still have a chance, and we're not yet giving up. We're still continuing the good fight, and I believe that we may yet turn things around, because we can't let Sire get his way. Okay, definitely, Sire's experience is showing. He definitely knows his game, his rules. and he's showing us that, hey, we can't mess with him, baby. My brother, great game on your end. You definitely have the skill set, and it's all showing here, okay? All right, guys, as always, don't forget to bunker down and play. Let me know, as usual, what you guys think.